There are places in the dimension of podcasting where the walls between seasons are thin, where you can hear what's going on behind the curtain. With a keen ear and an open mind, you can tune in to these updates in production. They are Between the Frequencies. This is Mick Wingert. It's my privilege on this bonus behind-the-scenes episode of The Hidden Frequencies to give you our two-part update on the future of this podcast. Stay with us through this inside look at our show, and you'll get a free bonus interview on this very episode with Andres Salazar, author of Season 1, Episode 5, Father and Son Outing. The first thing I'd like to cover in this brief bonus episode is to announce, for those who have not yet heard, that Season 2 of The Hidden Frequencies is now in pre-production. Our writers have gathered and come up with a bevy of delicious and bizarre new episodes to showcase in a second season of our show. Our desire is to go into production by early summer 2019 and make The Hidden Frequencies Season 2 a reality as soon as humanly possible. Now, this leads me to the second part of our announcement. We've started a Patreon page for you, the fans, to help us make Season 2 a reality at www.patreon.com/thehiddenfrequencies. All one word. On The Hidden Frequencies, we're committed to the highest standard of excellence in storytelling and production. And this requires resources. So we're reaching out to you, our fans, for your patronage to help us bring this next season together. With membership levels starting at only $5 a month, you not only get a chance to support this audio drama that you love, but you also earn exclusive membership benefits that give you various looks behind the scenes at our show. Let me just take a quick minute and go over the benefits that you'll get at each level of sponsorship. There's only 3. It'll be quick. At $5 or more a month, what we're calling the table read tier, you'll get early access to all new Hidden Frequencies episodes. You'll get exclusive episode art downloads, and you'll get a monthly members-only Inside the Frequencies communique, telling you what's in development and how things are coming along. The next tier of sponsorship is $10 a month. We call this the behind-the-scenes tier, and it includes all the benefits of the $5 tier, plus access to weekly behind-the-scenes videos, live or live-to-tape, that we're going to be producing once production gets rolling. Plus, you'll get an advance-release downloadable script of a selected Hidden Frequencies episode prior to the episode drop, so you can follow along if you want. You can see how the words translate from the page to the production. And the highest tier of sponsorship, $20 a month, what we're calling the In the Booth tier, will include all of the benefits I've just mentioned, as well as a cast autographed copy of a select Hidden Frequencies script, 1 per season, exclusive access to 1 select episode recording live stream. So we'll live stream an episode recording as we've gathered the cast, as I'm directing with our script supervisor in tow and our engineer, and you'll get to see how an episode is made as it's being made. And also, you'll get 1 bonus episode per season. So if you're supporting us at $20 a month, you'll get 1 more episode than any other tier of support and anywhere else listening for free, just as a thank you for being one of our sustaining members. Finally, I'd like to give public thanks to the following patrons who have already signed up on Patreon to support The Hidden Frequencies. Without you guys and many like you, there would be no Season 2. Let's hear it for Willie Cox III, Sergio Saucedo, Rachel Lamb, Q Fortier, Keith McDuffie, Jonathan Gilbert, Fusspot, Erica Kimmel, and Armin Taylor. As our first patrons, we salute you and your support for The Hidden Frequencies. Once again, to join in, you can go to patreon.com/thehiddenfrequencies, all one word, and sign up to be a sponsor today. Every little bit of sponsorship helps, and the more funding we get, the more episodes we can include in Season 2 and beyond. Thank you in advance for signing up to be a patron. We appreciate it, and we can't wait to get Season 2 underway. Now, as promised, here is a sneak peek at the kind of in-depth, behind-the-scenes content you can expect with your patronage. Presented here, exclusively, free of charge, is our bonus episode interview with Andres Salazar, writer of Season 1, Episode 5, Father and Son Outing. Hi, thanks for tuning in. This is Mick Wingert, host and executive producer of The Hidden Frequencies, and I am sitting here in studio with the writer of episode 105, episode 5, as you may know it from the podcast feed, Father and Son Outing. This is Andres Salazar. Andres, thanks for coming into the studio today.
Thank you very much, Mick. Glad to be here, buddy.
So let's talk about you as a writer, and let's talk about the episode that you came up with for Hidden Frequencies. So how did you get into writing from in general to begin with?
Oh, wow. Probably like a lot of people, I just started writing as a kid. I remember in high school, I wrote some little short stories, things like that. I really didn't get really serious into it until college. I wrote a couple one-act plays, which I remember you attended when I went to school at UCSB. And after that, I kind of did a few short films and things like that. So I've always kind of been dabbling, but it wasn't until really I was an adult in my early 20s when I really wanted to kind of hone the craft, so to speak.
Sure.
Yeah.
What is it about writing that draws you?
Oh man, that's a good question. I wrote a little bit this morning actually, and it's really hard to describe. It's creating, it's building something. It's literally, you are inventing something different, new, that in your mind at that moment no one's done. I am coming up with an idea, this little tiny idea of a boy and his dad, and I think, well, what is that about? Okay, and then I add this other and then the ideas just start going, and next thing you know, you have a little story, and you kind of add to it, and you start thinking about theme and all these other kind of concepts. But what I love is just that moment where you sit down and just start thinking of ideas. And you're putting the ideas together, and it's like a puzzle or like Legos.
I was just thinking that. It's like building a Lego set.
You're building things, right? And you get ideas, characters, plot, theme, dialogue, all these things. And you kind of create this. And it's like at that moment, no one has seen it. It's just you, and it's in your mind. You're like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. And you get excited and pumped. And that's kind of what writing is to me.
Awesome. So what was it that drew you to the Hidden Frequencies as a project and wanting to be involved?
I am a huge fan of The Twilight Zone.
Okay.
As a kid, me and my mother would watch Outer Limits late at night.
Welcome to the club. Welcome.
On Channel 53 in Fresno, California. And we would watch, we'd watch Outer Limits, Twilight Zone, all those anthology stuff, And then when I got into comics and those things, I love the anthology. I love the one and done. I love the short little sweet story. I love the beginning, middle, the end as a twist. I just thought that was cool. So when I heard about this podcast, when we chatted a little bit, I was like, oh man, this would be great because I have all these little stories, little short stories and little ideas. I'm like, this would be a perfect way to kind of put some of those stories in kind of audible form, And I've always been interested in book adaptations. And there was a great, you'll remember this, The Lord of the Rings, Brian Sibley radio drama.
Oh, yeah.
I love that thing. It's 13 hours long. I listen to it every 2 or 3 years. I'll listen to that thing. And I just love the way it comes to life. It's better than the movies in so many ways.
Right.
Because there is still that it's not as passive, it's more active, right? Because the listener is actively engaging with it, using his imagination, putting the visuals to the audio. And I love that, right? Movie, we just sit back, we let it just come over us. But in audio, you're like, you have to think about it, and you're visualizing what this sound is and what does it mean to you and those kind of things. So I was really stoked about the project. So,
well, we were stoked to have you involved. In fact, let's talk about your episode in particular.
Okay.
What was the seed with which you came up with Father and Son Outing? And I'll make sure that we have a spoiler alert on this before people listen, but I definitely want to talk about the twist. I want to talk about the whole thing. Then we're going to presume that who's listening to this has listened to your episode 105. So spoiler alert, in case you didn't catch it at the beginning of the episode, we are going to spoil this episode.
Spoilers.
If you don't want to know what happens before you listen, turn off this episode and go back to episode 5, listen to it, and then come back for this interview. So what was the seed for this story? How did this come together?
Yeah. Probably 2 things. One was I was at the moment when we talked initially about like, hey, do you want to write for this episode? Write on the show. Do you got some ideas? At that week, I was neck deep in Disneyland lore.
Yeah, you literally sent me one. I asked for a pitch, and you gave me a log line, which was The Road Meets Disneyland.
Yeah, and that was like, oh, that's kind of cool, right? No, that was it. I have like all these books about Imagineering and Disneyland, and I'm fascinated about that whole park and how it was created and kind of the structural kind of elements of the design. So I was thinking about theme parks, thinking about that. And one of my favorite writers is Cormac McCarthy and his stuff like Blood Meridian and The Road and those kind of books. And so I thought, and I just thought like, what about, got Disneyland on the brain. What about Disneyland? But then it's different and what the twist would be. Let's make it like, would people go to like horror things? Because me and my brother, we like horror and we go to escape rooms. And one of the ideas we had a couple of years ago was, what if we created like some sort of an event where you come and we kind of like, we commandeer this area that everyone has to stay and camp there. It was like a camping horror kind of thing. And I thought, well, what if
it's like the Fire Festival gone horribly, horribly wrong.
Right. Exactly. Basically, right. So it was like, what if people would pay? Because there's this place. They're all over the nation, but there's one in LA in particular where it's like a torture place where you go, you pay like $60 to be tortured.
No, thank you.
And it's pretty horrific sounding, but there's a part of me that's like, what would that be like? But you have to sign all these waivers and everything. So I thought, like, what if that's the way we are? We're like adrenaline junkies now because people have to go ride 30-foot waves or jump out of planes or do these things that like give them some juice in life. What if it was like, I want to go be scared and I want to like live this other life in some way at this park, right? And what would that be like? Well, the adult might like it, but my kid who can't even do pirates would maybe freak out, right? And so what about that? Oh, then I thought, well, wait a minute. What if the kid has to do it? Like that's part of it. It's like, you don't get to choose this. We all go through this to be a man. Like this is a trial of manhood or some way to
rite of passage.
Rite of passage. You gain these survival skills that now we don't need to know how to build a fire. But when I go camping, you better have some matches, right? So what are those kind of things? So I thought like, what if it was like survival, camping, theme park, horror, mix all that in a little gumbo and come out the story. So that's kind of where it all started and kind of those ideas kind of came together. And that was, again, the Legos, right? I'm putting it together and then maybe I send it to you or get some feedback. Oh, that Lego piece doesn't work. Let's take that out. Let's put this other one on. We kind of just keep forming until everyone can see the art of it, So.
Were you satisfied with how the final version of your script came together? Because you just talked about how we switched some Legos in the sets, and that's definitely part of the writing process for Hidden Frequencies. Is the writing happens as a team with the story editor, myself, as the story editor is Jeremiah Smith, but also with myself involved, and we give notes and that kind of thing. Were you happy with how from where it started to where it ended?
Yes, I mean clearly. So. What I've learned in my short experience kind of doing some writing is anytime I'm by myself, isolated, siloed, and I write something, it's never going to be as good as if I have someone who's editing it, reading it, giving me feedback. You just need that. I don't know of anybody, any writer that that you can name has people that reads their stuff.
Sure.
They just do. And they get that feedback, and maybe it's their wife, maybe it's professional, whoever, those writer room, all the shows, everything, it's committee. They trust each other, and they work together. So the fact that I had people that I could trust that looked at the script, that gave me feedback, I incorporated, 85%. Some of it I was like, I want this though. And so once you kind of communicate what I'm going for, then, you know what? Then if you're trying to do this, if you're trying to show that the child is this way, then I think you're going at it the wrong way. Use these words or use that kind of thing. So a lot of it's just trying to get my message across, get the story across. And if it's not hitting the way I want it to hit, why is that, right?
Right.
Not that story doesn't work, do this, but like, what are you trying to do? Let me help you get that across because I'm not getting that message.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And that's what good editing and feedback is about, right?
Sure.
So that was invaluable. And I think, the product is definitely better and I'm very happy with it. I was really impressed with not only the notes and that kind of the pre-production process, but of the recording, of the caliber of actors and performers and of the sound and the sound editing. All that was just really top notch. So when I heard it, I was just grinning ear to ear and I loved it. Yeah, it's great.
Great. Couple of quick questions before we're done here, and that is, we'll start with this one. What inspired the Dwellers? What inspired the Skinners?
Well, I knew that I had to have some threat, right? I had to have a threat that they would encounter, and I thought of cast members at Disneyland. Again, it's like there are these people dressed up, right?
Yeah.
Who you go meet, or you're in a boat ride, and there's these,
Run!
robots.
It's Donald.
There's these robots.
Oh,
or
the
whatever.
animatronics.
So I had to like come up with something that they would be afraid of, right?
Sure.
And so I just kind of like started thinking about how would that work, and what would you want to put in there? And because it's audio medium, we're not able to see anything, right? So I had to kind of just think about how to describe them, and I just thought like, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to use these tribes. I thought like, what if the world was in this, like the road where there's these cannibal type people and all these things. And I wrote this story, a little similar, about 2 years ago called Downtown about these, it's basically like, The Lord of the Flies, but in this kind of post-apocalyptic urban landscape. So think of downtown LA, everything's shut down. There's no civilization, and there's just these kids alive. The adults are gone. So it's like Lord of the Flies, but urban city. What's going on? And in that story, they go down in the metro, and they find some adults who are still alive, and they're called the Dwellers. And so I kind of lifted that. That was one of my pieces, right? I'm going to use these other ideas. So I used the Dwellers in there. But then I had to, in this story, they couldn't just be people. They had to be scary. So I kind of created them almost like an anglerfish or some kind of not a magical, but some kind of a strange, horrific kind of a concept to add. Right. To them, to kind of give it more spookiness for the kid who goes through it, Of course, it's all made up. I mean, it's all what that society created to kind of put the kids through this. There are no Dwellers, there are no Skinners, it's just these almost like fairy tales of the eons past, the old age of Neanderthal, that kind of a deal.
Gotcha. So you said you're a fan of horror. Okay, so we know that The Hidden Frequencies is, as you said, science fiction horror based on these great anthology shows from the past. Let me ask you this question. What are your favorite horror films of all time? I think we can all agree on a similar list for the greatest, but what are your personal favorites of all time? How do you like to be scared? Or what films, what stories are your most enjoyable in the horror genre?
Man. I love The Shining. I always will. because of the performance is brilliant. And story, just this idea of this man kind of losing his mind. And in the book, it's more magical and supernatural, but I love that. I love it to death. Jaws is brilliant just because of the time, what they do, that communication, that conversation down in the boat that night with those characters about showing their wounds, talking about the PT boat that is sinking and the sharks eating them, and amazing dialogue. Great movie. Alien, I still think is a great horror film. That is freaking scary, right? And what's great is James Cameron did something totally different. He's like, I'm not doing horror. I'm gonna do action film. Right? Yeah. He did not do a horror film. So I love that was one of my favorite actions. Those three definitely top three.
You got two more.
Man, I'm like visualizing my bookshelf and my movie shelf. I like It Follows. I don't know if it's my top. I feel a little pressured. You're supposed to send me these the day before so I can prep. It Follows is very good.
Folks, I sprang this on him. So
It Follows is pretty good. It's new. What was the one that I really liked? Oh, Hereditary was pretty damn good.
I heard that there's a sequel coming out too. A sequel or a prequel.
That might be good too. No, Hereditary was very good. Gosh, I know I'm missing this big one that I'm just gonna no, I'm gonna drive home. No.
Texas Chainsaw.
Oh gosh. Texas Chainsaw is the original though. I don't do that
Texas
new stuff.
Chainsaw Massacre.
Friday the 13th part 1 is really good because the mom, right? So that was great. So part 1 is great. Texas Chainsaw, I can't watch that one. That's not one I'll watch. It's not one that grabs me. It's just a little too viscerally. I'm not into the torture porn. I'm not into the hostels. I'm not into that super visual stuff. I like a little bit more of the psychological.
Sure.
Hence the The Shining. And I like some creature. Oh, The Thing.
The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing.
I love The Thing. That has got to be it. The Thing. It is. It's a whodunit. It's a mystery. It's a creature. The special effects, the characters in such a short amount of time. Within 10, 20 minutes of the film, we know all these characters. We know what they're like, the personalities, the way it builds. And it's Russell's great film. It's one of his best films.
That and Overboard.
Yeah, it's pretty good too. Yeah, it just knocks it out of the park. It is so good. So yeah, The Thing, Shining, Jaws, Hereditary, It Follows. I'm just putting those kind of they're kind of newer, so the young kids, don't know these other ones. Those are good films. I'm thinking of Werewolf and none of the Frankensteins, none of the werewolves, none of the Draculas. I think Bram Stoker's okay, but none of those are grabbing me. Are we going to call Lost Boys a horror? Not really. Are we? Just for nostalgic, I got to say Lost Boys is kind of up there.
It's a horror comedy.
Yeah. At the time, when that came out, when I was 15, whatever, oh my gosh. Loved that.
That was intense.
Now, if you want to get more cerebral, we can talk Schindler's List. That's a great movie. That's a horror film. Life is Beautiful in some ways is a horror film. But, I don't want to just hit just Holocaust stuff. Those are those are pretty,
That's heavy stuff,
deep,
man. That's pretty heavy.
Those are pretty deep. But if we go traditional horror, let's stick with those for now.
That's great.
And then if listeners want to know, email me. I'll email some more because I got a big list, I'm sure. On the way home, I'll be like, no, I'll be texting you. No, I forgot. Blah, blah, blah,
Yeah. Day of the Locust or whatever.
The Blob. No, not the color. The black and white,
That's hilarious.
The black and white blob. Yeah, wasn't that weird? It's just gray. This is gray thing. So we don't know what color this damn thing is, right?
It's amazing.
Wasn't it until
it's amazing.
One? Oh, gosh.
So for listeners who may have tuned in for your episode of the Hidden Frequencies, but may not have tuned into all 10 episodes of season 1, as we're moving into season 2, why don't you give your recommend for 2 others? It doesn't have to be your top, just the first ones that come to mind.
I love the title escapes me. Jeremiah's.
Where there's an app for that.
Yes.
App for that. Gosh. Yeah, there's an app for that.
There's an app for that. I just love it because it's just kind of fun and quirky in the comedy. It's just great. I just think the performances are great. I love the idea, the concept. That is just a quick concept that's just like, whoa, you know what I mean? I like that. It's just super simple, super like in your face.
Okay,
you know?
Awesome. One more.
Kind of like Disneyland and Disneyland the Road. Boom, there it is.
Nice and tight.
Nice and tight. I want to say something. The stash I like too.
Okay.
I thought the stash was really cool. I like this idea of these kids, these people, actually, it wasn't just the boys, but, you know, where there's this little hidden place and it's kind of a portal to this other entity that's controlling. And I just really like that one a lot. So those are my 2 recommends, but I think they're all really good. It's hard to say. Can I do a 3?
Sure.
I'm just do a
Pick
3.
a third.
This is for you guys, for the Patreon people. Merkside Murders Hotel. Merkside Hotel is great. Okay, that's a good, very good. I like it a lot. And if you got problems with it, you come talk to me because that's a good one. Okay, so I don't want to hear it. No, that's great. Let me tell you right now, before you sign off, I want to have my last word.
Please.
My last word is this. The Hidden Frequencies podcast has been a wonderful experience with very dedicated, passionate professionals. And I'm excited and honored to be among them. I hope that everyone listens and that you share it with people because I think it's really fun and it's good and it's quality. And right now it's free. So get it now while it's hot. That's how I like to see it. And thank you very much for being a part of the program and just, you know, be able to write my stories. And so I got to show off my Legos to people, and that was really fun.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Andres. We appreciate you being in studio, and we look forward to what you're going to come up with for season 2. All right, folks, that's the Hidden Frequencies. If you're listening to this, you are tuned in to our podcast. Spread the word. Let people know that we are not only out there with 10 episodes for season 1, but that we've got a Patreon. If they want to help support season 2 and want to see it come to fruition, you can get involved for as little as $5 a month. You get some great bonuses like downloadable art. At the higher tiers, you get stuff like access to behind the scenes information and interviews like this. You also get, at the top tiers, you will get the opportunity to sit in on the live stream of an actual record during season 2, which I'm super excited about sharing that experience with folks. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, and until season 2, we'll see you next time. Original music and scoring by Brandon Boone. For complete show notes and more details about the people who bring you this production, please visit thehiddenfrequencies.com and follow us on Instagram and Twitter under the handle @THFrequencies. The Hidden Frequencies is copyright 2018 by Wacky Title Productions, Inc. All rights reserved. No duplication or reproduction of this audio program is permitted without the written consent of Wacky Title Productions, Inc.